In the 6th century BC, one empire towered above all others. Its armies stretched across 3 continents. Its king believed no nation could resist him. His name was Cyrus the Great. But beyond the northeastern frontier lay a land unlike any he had conquered before. Main story. The story most documentaries return to again and again is the clash between the Saka and the Persian Empire, specifically the Achaemenid dynasty founded by Cyrus the Great. By the 6th century BCE, Persia was the largest empire the world had yet seen, stretching from Egypt to the Indus Valley. Cyrus the Great had built this empire through a combination of military conquest and, by ancient standards, relatively pragmatic governance. But the steppe frontier was different from anything Persia had faced before. There were no cities to besiege, no kings to depose in a single decisive battle. There was only distance, mobility, and warriors who could disappear into grassland at will. Herodotus records a tradition that Cyrus the Great died fighting steppe nomads in the region beyond the Sir River in a campaign against the Masajte, a nomadic people closely related to, or sometimes classified among, the Saka. According to this account, the campaign ended in disaster for the Persians, and Cyrus himself was killed. Historians remain cautious about the precise details, since Herodotus's narrative includes dramatic elements that may reflect legend as much as fact, but the broader point survives scrutiny. The founder of the Persian Empire met his end on the steppe frontier at the hands of nomadic warriors the empire could not easily subdue. His successors did not forget this. Darius I, who took the Persian throne in 522 BCE, launched a major campaign against the Saka beyond the Sir early in his reign, an event commemorated in Persian royal inscriptions and later celebrated in Persian art, including a relief showing a Saka chieftain, Skunkha, brought before the king. Darius's inscriptions frame this as a Persian victory, and Skunkha's capture is depicted as a symbol of Saka's submission. Yet even here, historians note that Persian royal inscriptions were propaganda tools designed to project total control. The reality on the steppe was almost certainly messier, a frontier of shifting alliances, tribute arrangements, and continued raiding, rather than permanent conquest. This pattern defines the entire Saka-Persian relationship. Persian kings could win battles, extract nominal submission, and even recruit Saka warriors into their own armies. Saka contingents are recorded fighting for Xerxes I during the Persian invasion of Greece in 480 BCE, serving as cavalry and mounted archers. But Persia never fully absorbed Saka territory into a settled administrative system the way it did with Egypt or Babylon. The steppes simply could not be governed the same way. Beyond their conflicts with Persia, the Saka interacted with the wider ancient world in other significant ways. Groups identified as Saka moved into Bactria and eventually into northern India, where several centuries after Darius, Saka rulers established what historians call the Indo-Scythian kingdoms. These Saka dynasties, sometimes referred to using the later Indian term Shaka, ruled parts of northwestern India and are known through coinage, inscriptions, and later Indian historical tradition, which even developed a Saka calendar era still used in India today. This shows something important. The Saka were not merely raiders on Persia's northern border. Over centuries, they became state builders and rulers in their own right, adapting to settled political structures when it suited them. Militarily, the Saka were defined by mounted archery. Their warriors used the composite bow, a weapon built from layered horn, wood, and sinew that allowed powerful shots from horseback. Saka burial sites have produced these bows alongside iron and bronze weaponry, horse harnesses, and elaborate gold ornamentation, most famously in the animal-style art depicting stylized deer, predators, and mythical creatures. This artistic tradition connects the Saka to the broader Scythian cultural world, stretching across the Eurasian steppe. Perhaps the most extraordinary window into Saka life comes from archaeology rather than ancient texts. The frozen tombs of the Pazyryk culture in the Altai Mountains, and the discovery known as the Golden Man from the Issyk Kurgan in modern Kazakhstan, reveal a society far more sophisticated than barbarian raiders stereotypes suggest. The Issyk burial, dated to around the 4th or 5th century BCE, contained a young warrior covered in thousands of gold ornaments, indicating high status, possibly royal. Scholars have debated the individual's identity and even gender, since the burial goods and skeletal analysis have prompted different interpretations over the decades. Another example of genuine, ongoing academic disagreement rather than settled fact. These burials show a culture with a sophisticated belief system tied to the afterlife, ranked social status, developed metalworking traditions, and long-distance trade connections stretching from China to the Mediterranean. Textiles and mirrors found in Saka-related tombs reveal contact with cultures as distant as Persia and China, showing that the isolated nomad image is misleading. The Saka existed within a wide network of exchange, sitting geographically at a crossroads between major civilizations. Historical significance. Why does a loosely connected group of Iron Age nomads still matter today? First, the Saka demonstrate a fundamental truth about ancient power. Military dominance over cities and settled populations did not guarantee dominance over mobile, decentralized peoples. Persia's failure to permanently subdue the Saka steppe frontier reveals the limits of even the greatest ancient empires when facing an entirely different way of life and warfare. Second, the Saka were not passive victims of history. They shaped it. Their warriors fought in Persian and Indian armies. Their rulers founded kingdoms in South Asia. Their trade networks connected the ancient world's major civilizations long before the term Silk Road existed. The Saka are, in many ways, a reminder that Central Asia was never a peripheral backwater. It was a dynamic and influential zone that linked east and west. Third, and perhaps most importantly, the Saka highlight how much of ancient history depends on whose voice survives. Persian kings could write their triumphs into stone. Herodotus could interpret steppe cultures through a Greek lens. Chinese chroniclers recorded distant tribes with their own biases. The Saka themselves left almost nothing in their own words. Modern historians and archaeologists have had to reconstruct their world painstakingly, tomb by tomb, artifact by artifact, correcting the distortions of ancient propaganda and legend along the way. Conclusion: the Saka never built a Rome or a Babylon. They left no monumental capital city, no royal library, no inscribed law code. And yet their presence shaped Persian politics, contributed warriors to some of history's most famous battles, and eventually produced kings who ruled parts of India for generations. They remind us that history's most influential peoples are not always the ones who wrote the most about themselves. Sometimes they are the ones whose story we have to dig up, quite literally, from beneath the earth. So the next time you think of empires and conquerors, remember the horsemen of the steppe who killed one, humbled another, and quietly wrote themselves into history without ever picking up a pen. But the greatest battles for the steppe were still to come. The story of the Saka became part of something even greater, because every empire that marched into the steppe would face the same challenge. If you liked this documentary, please subscribe and like it. I will be very grateful. Thanks for watching.